it's Gwen. Today I'm going to film a response video to Nana at SCS Reads. I believe that it stands for Star-Crossed Smile, but I'm going to link her in the description box, so make sure you check out her video and her channel. She's amazing and so pretty, and she really tries to get her thoughts out there, and I'm really loving her channel, so you should check it out too. But today I'm going to discuss, she participated in Banned Books Week and she posted a video about Go Ask Alice. And before I actually watched her video, I made a comment on the video, and I printed it out so I could read you exactly what I wrote. Again, it was about Go Ask Alice. So I said, quote, "I haven't watched her video yet, but I just wanted to say I am glad you read this book, even if you're not sure how to feel about it. I first read this book when I was 15 or 16. I have since read it quite a few times. Oddly enough, it's in the top 5 of my all-time favorite books." So I did, say that in the comments before I did actually watch the video. And then I watched her video, and she just didn't seem very sure about, it seemed like she didn't like it. And if that wasn't the case, it seemed like maybe she wasn't sure how she felt about it. And I think just because there's so much controversy surrounding the book, obviously it was printed as if it was a found diary of a young girl around 15 or 16 years old that named Alice, that left her diary, and it was all about kind of her life, high school, meeting friends, her parents, her dad getting a job at a new university, trying to please her parents, trying to fit in at school. But a big part of the book, at least for me, was the drug use. And so I'm just going to kind of go into my thoughts about what I thought about the book, and then, I don't know, take it or leave it. So, like I said to Nana, I first read this book when I was 15 or 16 years old. My stepmother had her original copy, it was totally the cover was bent up and dog-eared, and the spine was all cracked and broken, but I loved it. I read it super quick, and after I was done reading it, I was just like, wow, that was the first kind of book that I ever read like that. And of course, I didn't really know at 15 or 16 years old, because obviously when I was 15 or 16 years old, computers weren't in every single household. But I didn't really know if it was true or not. But I've always kept a journal myself, and I never could imagine being her age writing in my own diary that way. So it was very interesting to me that it was written in diary form, and that I thought that the drug use and the things that were happening was realistic. I think that's one of the big complaints, is that people think, wow, she does all these drugs and one minute she's fine and the next she's not. I think that's pretty realistic, that you're fine one day and not the next. I personally have not experimented with some of the drugs that she did in this book, but I know people that have, and I've dealt with people that have, and it really is, and I've heard stories about people that have, and it really is that. It is really one minute you're fine because you're like, oh, I'm never going to do drugs again, and then there's that peer pressure and that, wanting to fit in, wanting to stay friends with someone, because when you build a relationship with someone, or a friendship based on drugs, you're doing drugs, when you build that friendship, that's all that friendship really is. It's kind of hard to explain, but I thought the diary was very sensitive and gripping and observant, and overall, I just thought it was the most realistic view of drug use back in that time period. You have to think, this wasn't written in the, wasn't written last year or within the last 10 years. Regardless of who wrote it and all the anonymous stuff and all of that, you have to think about when it was written and when the diary was written. So if the diary was written, let's say in the 60s, you have to think about what drug use was like back then. It was more rampant. It was more, I don't know. Thought it was very realistic. So I first read it when I was 15 or 16 years old, and then I absolutely loved it. I read it a couple of times, maybe like 2 or 3 times, and then I lost it. Why did I lose it? I don't even remember how I lost it, but I was so sad. And then when I was like 18 or 19, I saw it in a bookstore, and I was like, oh my goodness, so I bought it again. And then I loaned it to a friend to read it, and I read it a couple of times again, and then I lost it again. So I currently do not have a copy of Go Ask Alice. I figured the third time would be the charm, and I'd actually be able to hold on to this copy. I have seen it in the bookstore. Every time I go into Barnes & Noble, it's right there, and I see it, and I almost get it every single time. But I have not purchased it yet, but now I'm wanting to like run out to the store and buy my copy. But I always end up buying another book, and I'm like, oh, it'll always be there. My favorite part, I wrote it down just so I had like a little bit of notes, but my favorite part in the book, and I thought it was like so crazy, but I was just like, wow, I could imagine that happening because of stories that I've heard. It's when she's babysitting, and I guess she wasn't doing drugs like right then, but she kind of had like a flashback type thing, or maybe she was. Like I said, it's been a while since I've read the book, but now I want to read it again. But she's babysitting, and she gets trapped in like a closet. I think it's like the pantry closet or something like that. Like in my head, I just pictured it as like a closet in the kitchen, where she's like trying to claw her way out, and she like messes up her hands and all of that. I loved that part. It was so creepy, but just eerie. Like, I just thought like, oh my goodness, I can't even believe this is happening. I have heard some stories about people having flashbacks and things that their flashbacks were about, and yeah, I think something like that could actually happen. So I think that if you've done drugs, or you've studied drugs, or you know people that have done drugs, or you've heard stories like firsthand, secondhand accounts of people that have done drugs, like you've heard stories from them, or you've dealt with people, or so, if you've had drugs in your life, whether yourself, a family member, someone you know, a friend, whatever, I think that you'll appreciate the rawness of the writing a little bit more. If you don't know a lot about drugs, or you don't know anybody that's ever done drugs, or any hardcore drugs like that are in the book, then I think you're going to be a little bit more confused. So I think that if you look at it from the standpoint of, let's just say that the experiences in the book are real. Let's just say that it's a real diary. If you look at it from that standpoint, that it's just a real diary, then I think you can appreciate it more. But if you look at the book as a skeptic, like, oh, this is Beatrice Sparks pretending to be, publishing or editing this diary of a young girl. When you kind of, fall into the controversy over it, I don't think that it's really that great of a book. But since I read it thinking that this was the diary of Alice, of a girl named Alice, I enjoyed it. And it will always be in one of my top favorite books. It is in my top 5 still. I would say probably number 5, just because I've read so many books since then. I haven't really ranked my top 5 books of all time, so let's not get into details. But I just wanted to share my thoughts on the book, for Nana especially, and I figured I'd share it with all of you. So there's my thoughts. Take them or leave them. If you haven't read the book, check it out and post on Nana's what you thought about it. Post here what you thought about it. Let's get a discussion going. I think it's either a hit or a miss, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a great day. Bye.